Coming up, the best of the year that was. It's our annual Director's Cut.
See stories you may have missed and revisit your favorites like playing in the canyons of Utah.
Go back in time with World War II vet as he flies again in the mighty B-25 and put a modern Euro LSA head-to-head with a tried-and-true classic.
We'll fly the attack plane born of citations, the turboprop home-built hot rod, and we'll set a speed record in a business jet.
Meet the families that fly and the places they go remote.
Plus, it's been all over your social media feed. Let's go for a ride in Draco.
Those stories and more when AOPA Live this week, the Director's Cut 2018 starts in just a moment.
Celebrate 20 years of Sonex aircraft by building and flying your dream. Quick handling, fun and capable kit aircraft models to suit your flying passions. Get the best performance per dollar with Sonex aircraft.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Redinger.
Well, welcome, and we hope your holidays are off to a good start. By the time you see this, we'll be off enjoying some what we think is well-deserved R&R. So thanks for joining us for AOPA Live This Week, the Director's Cut 2018. I'm Warren Morningstar alongside Josh Cochran and Paul Harrop.
So we're the team that makes AOPA Live this week, and as you know, we'd like to give you a chance to see our favorite stories from this year all in one place.
2018 was full of great content, at least we think so, and we want to give you a chance to look back at it. So in no particular order, here are the ones subjectively, admittedly, picked by us as ones that bear repeating.
Well, this airplane might just be the ultimate home build. The Turbine Legend is awesome. It combines the spirit of a fighter, turboprop power, and composite construction into a serious performer. Dave Hirschman takes us to Memphis for a look at it.
The Turbine Legend has the sleek shape and military paint scheme of a classic warbird fighter, but it's a totally different animal. This kit airplane is designed to provide exceptional performance as well as the reliability and IFR capability of a modern turboprop. And owner and pilot David Peeler said it gives him the best of both worlds.
It's kind of one of the old school analog panels. It's got a Garmin 530 and a Garmin 430 in it and all the typical analog gauges, but it's really well laid out. Feels like a fighter. Big bubble cockpit, bubble canopy. It's got the seat is reclined about 30 degrees. Thick with the throttle right where a typical, warbird or fighter would be. It's super simple, push button start, and you basically monitor the start. The turbine engine is actually easier to operate. It's a low workload airplane, so once you get up and go, there's just not much to do other than take that one lever and go front and back with it. You're not waiting any length of time to let it warm up. If you get in there in the wintertime, you got to crank it, close the canopy, and by the time we get to the runway, we're ready to go. Takeoff, we try to hit about 97, 98% power, 10 to 15 degrees of flaps, because it is high wing loaded. And it's a lot like a warbird. You need to let it fly off the runway. Best climb is somewhere between like 130 and 150 knots. If you really want it to climb, it can do 4,000 to 6,000 feet per minute if you want to point the nose up and leave the power up.
Oh, back to idle. There's 80 knots with it right now. Raise in. There's 70 knots. There's 60 knots. Too shabby, huh? Wow.
I'm typically somewhere between 12 and say 14 or 15,000. I think other operators of Legends take them a little higher, somewhere up in the higher teens. We have oxygen on board. Just typical rules require we wear it. But a lot of the legs are fairly short, a 300 nautical mile leg. Virtually by the time you've hit your cruising altitude, it's almost time to descend in that airplane. From the downwind, I fly a curving approach on the base to final, and you're looking at 90 knots. Once you touch down, you can put it into beta almost to reverse, and you can stop it on a dime.
We have a little bit of positive pressure, and we're using more aileron pressure than aileron roll rate, if you know what I mean.
The The turboprop makes the Turbine Legend incredibly smooth in the air, and the 650 horsepower engine doesn't have to be treated with kid gloves the way a big supercharged piston engine does. The Turbine Legend is light and nimble in flight. It rolls about 120 degrees per second, and its composite airframe is stressed for aerobatics. The Walter engine can be flown economically at high altitude in cruise, or it can provide kerosene-guzzling, heart-pounding performance down low. It all depends on whether the pilot wants to fly like a fighter or a traveler. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
Now for a story that was probably one of the most fun to shoot I've ever been on. We took a Quest Kodiak into the canyons near Moab, Utah to put it through the paces. Tom Haynes has the story.
Airplanes are meant to take us places, and few are more versatile at doing that than the Quest aircraft Kodiak, a beefy single-engine turboprop at home in backcountry and at the busiest airports. The Bureau of Land Management owns millions of square miles of land in the desert Southwest, and a Kodiak's a great way to explore that vast remoteness, which is how we find ourselves descending into Mineral Canyon for a touchdown on a 2,000-foot dirt strip next to the Green River.
The airplane loves to fly slow. It's a STOL airplane, that's what it was built for. So to land on a 2,000-foot strip at a decent altitude, I think we're around 4,000 feet, it's no issue. It doesn't have any bad habits when it's slow. In fact, it has nothing but good habits because of the design of the wing. So you bring the power back, full flaps, 35 degrees is full flaps, and then you keep it right about 80 knots, 75, 80 knots until you're on fairly short final. And then you bleed the airspeed off, and a short strip like this, I'll touch down at about 65.
And while this is a unique experience for us, it's just another day at the office for Nick Lamoureux, Director of Operations for Red Tail Air Tours of Moab, Utah.
We operate 10 airplanes, provide scenic flights over the national park, provide river shuttles to and from the Colorado rivers, Green Rivers, charter service. One of the things I like about it is it reminds me of a diesel truck in some ways. It doesn't really matter if you're towing or going uphill. It just gets up and goes.
Of course, that versatility didn't just happen. The Kodiak was purpose-built for flying in out-of-the-way places.
There was a lot of humanitarian and mission organizations that were flying 206s and a lot of piston-driven airplanes, and they needed something that ran on jet fuel, had more efficiency, that had more carrying capability with the same STOL-type performance.
And fittingly, we went to where there was no runway at all and landed anyhow, on a salt flat. And of course, after all that work, food becomes a necessity, and the guides from outdoor adventure company Navtech did not disappoint. They whipped up an amazing meal at the campsite they had prepared. And what's great after a big meal but amazing entertainment? Guide Vlad Dandu pulled out his well-worn accordion to entertain us with Romanian folk songs. So here we are, hours by land from the nearest community, enjoying an experience that only general aviation can bring. Hey, what's not to like about that?
Guys, that was a super fun shoot and a really great location, and I had a chance to shoot out of a new air-to-air platform. Red Tail Air Adventures T207 turned out to be one of my new favorite air-to-air platforms. It's like a station wagon in the back, and they use it for skydivers, so it had a little fairing, didn't get any wind at all. But take a look, here's some GoPro video. I wore this GoPro on my head to give a behind-the-scenes look at that shoot. Still photographer Chris Rose and I were in the back, and it is such a pretty spot. If you're ever out in southern Utah near Moab, you've got to see it from both the air and the ground. It is a super pretty place to be.
Well, it certainly is, and as you know, Paul, that's my home state. I've spent a lot of time in Moab and that area. I just love it.
It's an amazing spot.
And speaking of my home state of Utah, general aviation is connecting combat veterans with a healing opportunity. David Toulis shows us how pilots connected vets with a scenic place to reflect.
It's a journey of healing and camaraderie. 14 combat veterans and 5 pilots took a rafting adventure through Utah's Gates of Lodore, a series of whitewater rapids along the wild and scenic Green River. The adventure was put together by pilot Tim Valentine. Tragically, Tim was killed in an airplane accident just a few weeks before the trip.
So the family wanted to go ahead and push forward and make the trip happen for the veterans and the guys who were committed to the trip and wanted to go. Tim was a warrior. He didn't have to quit, so we decided to go ahead and push forward.
Tim's passion lived on during the journey, and it served as a continuation of his legacy.
He always wanted to serve vets. Became one of his passions. He'd put him in his plane at the drop of a hat, fly him to the mail clinic, get him out of jail on his word alone. He'd talk to the judge.
On this journey, Tim paid for all of the veterans' transportation costs, all of their food, their lodging, and the river guides. The swiftly moving waterway is filled with Class 2 to Class 4 rapids that etched a pathway from Wyoming to Utah. The ruby red rock cliffs stand in contrast against a blazing blue sky, and this grandiose backdrop provides the ideal place for these heroes to reflect on life and on their experiences in combat.
It's hard for men sometimes to unwind generally, and especially for soldiers who have seen a lot of stuff that maybe they shouldn't have. Sometimes it's easier for them to share when they're with other soldiers, and it helps them unwind and de-stress and heal.
The journey brought these men, many of whom were strangers at the beginning of the week, together.
You look around and everybody's kind of coming together. In the beginning, you wind up with, we got groups. These guys kind of do this thing, these guys kind of do that thing. And as the trip goes on, there's going to be a handful of relationships that are going to be built here. And that's really neat to watch. Just come together and, all walks of life. And the common bond is everybody here's a warrior.
The journey was not only meaningful for the veterans, but also for the pilots who flew them.
I ended up getting a Army career officer, a commissioned officer from Fort Worth. Great guy, Bill Johnson. I can tell already we're going to be friends for the rest of our lives.
The relationships formed perfectly summed up Tim's goal of moving forward, serving as the ultimate legacy for a man who gave so much to serve our veterans.
He'd be pretty proud of this. He would have done it bigger. He never stopped. It's been tough these last few weeks without him.
David Toulis, AOPA Live.
Warbirds are living history, able to bring the past to life, but in some cases, they're able to bring those who lived it back to the past. Josh Cochran has the story of a World War II vet getting back into a familiar seat.
For World War II veteran Joe Bigley, it's a homecoming. At 92 years old, Joe is returning to the cabin of a World War II bomber, a place where he spent a great deal of time serving as a turret gunner in the Pacific. The flight is in B-25 Panchito. As the old radios rumble and the fields pass below, Joe reflects on his time serving in World War II so many years ago. Joe joined the service after being greatly affected by the attack on Pearl Harbor.
You would think, damn, I want to go. I can't stand these people sneaking up and killing others without giving them a chance.
When he enlisted, he was only 16 years old.
I had my mother to contend. I told her I was going to join, and I'm going to lie about it. Will you back me up? And she says, I don't think I can. You're only 16. And she says, if you dare to do this, and you don't come back to me in one piece, I'm never going to speak to you again. I said, Mom, save your voice. I'm going to come back.
And Joe did come back, but there were a lot of close calls along the way. After one mission, the hydraulic system on their B-24 was damaged. Mac, the pilot, had a brilliant idea to slow the bomber down on the runway. He had the men tie their parachutes to the guns. Then, once they landed,
he said, pull the GD chutes now. Like that. And we did.
With the parachutes deployed outside, the airplane stopped just in time. Most of all, Joe wants to honor those who never came home.
Pray for the poor guys, the kids get back. They were the only ones.
For Joe, the flight served as a powerful reminder of the past.
How was it flying today in the airplane?
It's like going home.
B-25 Pangito keeps flying for missions like this.
I have a tremendous amount of respect for these guys. You know, I was speaking with one of them, and I put my hand on his arm. I said, "Thank you for your service." And he broke down and cried. He said, "Don't thank me." He said, "We left a lot of friends over there. Thank them. They're the ones. They're the ones who paid with the ultimate price so that we can do this today."
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
General aviation is a vital tool for keeping life going. In many places, GA is the only way to get there. Julie Walker takes us to Colombia, which is one such place.
Colombia, South America, a beautiful, wild, diverse country. From the bustling capital of Bogota to small, remote villages with a simpler way of life, Colombia hosts a socioeconomic profile as diverse as its landscape. Outside Bogota, there is a group of general aviation pilots who support an active airfield and form a solid pilot community. The group is called the Civil Air Patrol. The organization was formed in the 1980s by pilots who wanted to do more than just fly the average $100 hamburger run.
The Civil Air Patrol is an organization dedicated to transform lives in Colombia.
To transform lives, the group organizes and provides staff for medical missions into areas where care is limited. Volunteer doctors, nurses, and aid workers are transported into these remote areas by volunteer pilots in a variety of aircraft. Flight planning is crucial for these challenging missions to account for terrain, weather, and to work around government bureaucracy. For this flight, the mission is to fly to El Charco, which involves crossing the 17,000-foot Andes Mountains. The Quest Kodiak is full of medical gear and supplies, descending through the jungle into a short, narrow strip. El Charco gives a glimpse of what life is like in poor, rural Colombia. The river is the center of life in the village, providing transportation and food. El Charco struggles with lack of clean running water and medical care. The clinic, which opens here once a year, provides much-needed operations, including dental procedures, eye care, and surgical operations. On this day at the clinic, the routine procedures are interrupted by an emergency. A young girl is brought in, near death from respiratory complications. She must be transported as soon as possible to the closest modern hospital. She's taken through El Charco, put on a boat, and then carried back to the landing strip for loading into a Piper Seneca II. Veteran pilot Hans Timcke makes the life-saving 2-hour flight to the hospital.
If I would not have landed exactly just by heaven's decree, I think so, that time, it would have taken about 5 hours by boat through the rivers, the ocean, to Tumaco, and from what I heard, something like 12 or 13 hours to the next best hospital from there. It would have taken at least close to 20 hours.
General aviation truly made the difference between life and death here, and that is why these pilots and doctors use their weekends to make a difference.
I do it because I love it.
It has helped me to become maybe a better person, maybe.
You can change a life, and that's very, very good for you, for your soul.
Well, when we come back, the rest of the best, from attack jets to flying low and slow.
Plus, flying families and putting seaplanes head-to-head in an epic fly-off.
And this tease needs only one word, Draco. We'll be right back.
From the beginning, Garmin has been the leader in ADS-B development. Since the early proof-of-concept days of ADS-B in the late 1990s, we've been actively involved in delivering to pilots the most complete picture of traffic to increase awareness and enhance safety in any airspace.
Welcome back. It's a military attack and recon jet with general aviation bones and 100% awesome. Tom Haynes flew the Textron Scorpion.
It's sleek, fast, high-tech, and has general aviation roots. The Textron Scorpion was designed for a variety of military roles, including light attack, intelligence surveillance, and reconnaissance.
Creates a tremendous amount of efficiency in having all of that in one airplane, and also speed of response.
The airplane was designed by Textron to fill a gap in the military fleet.
Airplanes like the A4, the A7, the A6 were all retiring and leaving a vacancy in the middle of that operating area.
The project was funded completely by Textron, no government dollars used. No one has purchased the airplane yet, but it has amazing economic appeal. Many of the parts used in the Scorpion come from Cessna's Citation jets. The engines and avionics, all the way down to the clasps on the cargo doors, come from the CJ line. The CJ parts allow the Scorpion to be much more economical to purchase and operate than most military aircraft. The design is all about flexibility.
There is about on the order of 80 cubic feet of empty space in the belly of the airplane for sensors of your choosing. And then what happens a lot is something comes up that needs a kinetic engagement, and rather than having to try and call somebody else over to take care of that, we bring 6 weapon stations that we can actually bring that to the fight ourselves.
I recently flew the Scorpion at the Textron headquarters in Wichita, Kansas. Prepping for the flight is what you would expect to fly in a military aircraft like this. In flight, the experience feels, well, much more civilian. Not surprisingly, the Scorpion flies, well, about like a Citation. The straight wing makes for a highly stable sensor platform, especially at slow speeds. The Garmin G3000 cockpit, which has become common on business jets, brings a level of navigation and situational awareness unparalleled in similar military airplanes. The Scorpion is no F-16, but hey, it can dash to a scene at 450 knots and be as high as 41,000 feet, and then slow down to loiter at 15,000 feet for more than 4 hours on its stock fuel load. The answer everyone wants to know is, will militaries and other government organizations around the world recognize the value of such an airplane? In the future, will the Scorpion sting the bad guys or the hand that created it? Tom Haynes, AOPA Live.
All right, high wing or low wing, trike or tail dragger, 5 guys are in and out. Plot twist, what a burger. There are many great debates in the world, especially in aviation. Dave Hirschman wanted to settle one forever, though. Which is the better seaplane? A trusty American Super Cub or a modern European LSA contender? Let's find out.
The words iconic and legendary may be overused in aviation, yet they actually fit the Piper Super Cub. The Super Cub popularized backcountry flying in the second half of the 20th century, and it remains a useful and beloved aircraft. The Aeropract A-22 is a relative newcomer and a foreigner. Made in Ukraine, the metal A-22 has much more modern technology than the Super Cub with its Rotax engine and glass panel avionics. Our fly-off takes place on a sparkling late summer morning in central Maine. First, the takeoff test. Okay, we're gonna advance the throttles in 3, 2, 1, go. The Super Cub moves ahead about 3 airplane lengths during the takeoff run and gets off the water about 1 second earlier than the A-22. The A-22, however, uses about 30 feet less total distance on its takeoff run. The result, a draw. Once airborne in level flight with the flaps up, we begin a side-by-side climb contest. Both airplanes are at full power and pitch up to VY. As the saying goes, there's no replacement for displacement. Winner, Super Cub. With both airplanes in cruise, the A-22 moves into trail position to compare roll rates. Bank left in 3, 2, 1, go. The Super Cub rolls at a sedate 30 degrees per second. The A-22 is significantly quicker at about 45 degrees per second. Result, the winner, A-22. Next, we find out which plane can fly slower. Flying side by side with both airplanes clean, we decelerate in level flight.
All right, I'm starting to buff it at 50.
I wasn't buffeting at all there.
Yeah, it looks like you got a definite slow speed advantage.
Winner A22. With flaps and landing gear up, we open the throttles for a flat-out speed contest. Flying side by side, we commence the drag race.
Okay, I'm opening up a little bit of lead. 95 knots. Okay, say your ground speed. 90 knots? Yep. Okay, I'm at 92.
Winner, Super Cub. Our final challenge is a short landing comparison on water. We deploy full flaps and approach the landing zone. The A-22 makes its final approach about 3 knots slower than the Super Cub. Due to its heavier weight, however, the Super Cub settles into the water more quickly. The two airplanes decelerate and stop in almost exactly the same distance. Result, a draw. The shocking thing to me was just how close this modern LSA is to this traditional iconic Super Cub. Despite the massive power advantage that the Super Cub has. The takeaway: small, sporty, lightweight seaplanes provide real alternatives to traditional models. Dave Hirschman, AOPA Live.
And going to the other end of the technology extreme, the Embraer Legacy 450 is dripping with modern technology. Tom Horn flew with factory pilots to take one across the pond. They even set a speed record doing it.
Take a look at a brand new Embraer Legacy 450. It's only got 10 hours on it. It's going to be a European demonstrator, and we'll be leaving from Embraer's ramp in Melbourne, Florida, on a transatlantic delivery flight to Farnborough, England. Embraer demo pilots Craig King and Casey Davis are on the left. The first leg is mine, a positioning flight from Melbourne to Portland, Maine. Two hours, 45 minutes later, and here we are at Portland. Did I mention that the Portland to Farnborough flight was to set a speed record? Well, it is. Part of the record-setting business is to get the departure and arrival towers to certify the takeoff and landing times. So, we drive to Portland's tower, and Casey drops off the forms. Next day, we load up and take off, beating a snowstorm out of Portland. At about the halfway point, Casey gives us an update and a little pitch for the airplane.
This aircraft is a lot of fun to fly. We've got all of the technological advancements that you would see in a clean sheet aircraft. We've got auto brake, we've got auto throttles, we've got SMS, we've got moving maps. Really a fun aircraft for the pilots to fly. We're sitting up here at flight level 410, as you can see on my primary flight display, doing Mach decimal 7.6. Here are a few of the waypoints that we have passed and also our points that we will cross. Here what we have is our display with our points. We've got flight display with our moving map here on Craig's side. He's taking care of most of the plotting for the trip.
One of my duties as the pilot not flying is to plot the waypoints going across the ocean and make sure we're backing up our state-of-the-art avionics with old-school paper charts. So what we have here is our flight plan with all our points, and my job is to keep track of the times that our estimated time of crossing those points and record our actual time, and then I also plot them on a paper chart and record information regarding those points. Over the North Atlantic, there is no radar coverage, so controllers use this information to separate aircraft and keep safe distances.
The Legacy 450's all-new, redesigned interior is first class, with upwash and downwash lighting, stylish compartments, and comfy seats with optional heat and massage. Up on the valances there are small flight status maps. The sun sets quickly when you fly west to east at 500 knot ground speeds, and soon we're approaching Wales and preparing for the descent and approach into the London area. It'll be an ILS to runway 24 at Farnborough, then a turnoff to the Embraer ramp. Customs and immigration come next, plus, just as important, a personal visit from the tower, signing off on our official landing document. The tower even calculated our time, 6 hours, 5 minutes for the 2,593 nautical mile trip. So, mission accomplished. Now we're in the record books. Now the airplane waits for its next flight to Paris's Le Bourget Airport. Tom Horn, AOPA Live.
Aviation will take you anywhere you want to go, including off the streets and into a better life. I had the chance to meet some inspiring young people who are on the right track in life thanks to the Bob Hoover Academy.
Airshow performer Sean D. Tucker travels around the world wowing crowds with his high-energy aerobatic routine. But he calls the humble agricultural city of Salinas, California, his home.
I love this community. I was a crop duster in this community. The people in this community are hard working and they do back-breaking labor. We have, equal to Chicago on a kid-on-kid shooting, the same ratios. And it's all about gangs. And I wanted to figure out a way to enable these kids not have to do that.
Sean is helping high schoolers in Salinas through the Bob Hoover Academy, named after the pilot many regard as the best stick and rudder man who ever lived.
I went down to visit him one time, and I looked at him. I said, "Your legacy is important, Bob." And he goes, "Why?" I says, "Because you're iron will. You made yourself one of the best stick and rudder men in the world. You refused to ever give up. You were always reverent to every human being. Those core values are important. Those core values are important to my kids here in Salinas, and I want to continue that legacy."
The students learn the core values that Bob demonstrated through the analogy of flight.
Well, I believe this is true. If you can solo an airplane, you can do. And if you can do, then you can do life.
Flight gives the students a new perspective on life and allows them to dream again.
It's not just an opportunity to be introduced to aviation and to learn to fly an airplane, which is exciting on its own, but I think that it just opens a window into their hearts that have had to be closed off for a while, and a window in their mind that's been closed off into dreaming and thinking that something else is possible for them.
Hey, here we go.
It helped me realize that, those dreams are totally achievable. Because I don't think anybody would have ever thought that I would be in a plane, learning how to fly one. I don't think anyone would be, least of all me.
The change in perspective for the students doesn't happen overnight. It takes close relationships focusing on one student at a time.
Big believer in building relationships with these students, and that is creating positive role models. And a lot of them don't have that. So we really thrive on building relationships because we know that's the crux to everything.
In the classroom, students work on all their core subjects together and learn about aviation using AOPA's high school curriculum.
It's really helped me jump into this flight game and have the support without me going to reinvent the wheel. So it's been a godsend.
Students like Martin Mendez would say the mentorship, along with the inspiration from flight, has led to a changed life.
It really did change my life. And after I took my first flight lesson, even though I didn't really enjoy it the first time, I knew that I really wanted to do it. Deep down inside, I knew I wanted to do this and just continue my education with airplanes.
Now Martin has sold and he's working on his private certificate and A&P.
I just got hooked. That's really all I want to do. is be with airplanes.
And now that these students have realized their dreams, they want to go back and help others experience life in a new way, just like they do.
I want to probably spread the word that focus, believe in yourself. You could actually do something with yourself.
Because I've been locked up in juvenile halls, and I want to go back, especially to the hall that I was locked up in, or the halls that I was locked up in, and I want to talk to them. Like, I want to go actually, like, having achieved things, so I can go back, you know, just to, like, show other people that it's possible to still have a good life, even if you weren't born into one.
It makes me so proud to see how these kids have grown, how once they get hope, they'll get out of bed in the morning. Once they get self-esteem, they start inspiring, they become inspired, and they look at themselves in the mirror differently, and they have self-respect.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
That was such a great story. Well, you know, aviation is a special bond that many families share. Josh also found a father and son who share the joy of powered paragliders.
Henry Scott found a way to break from the bonds of Earth and experience solo flight at only 12 years old. He did it by learning to fly a powered paraglider.
The experience has been just amazing. Just seeing views from bird's eye view.
And Henry gets to experience the freedom of flight thanks to his dad, Jens. Jens is a helicopter and multi-engine rated pilot.
Every time we went to an air show, he always wanted to say, well, what can I do? When we stumbled upon the powered paraglider, he says, could I do that? And I thought, you know, maybe you could do that.
It took a lot of hard work. Henry spent months doing groundwork and working with a powered paragliding instructor before his first flight.
My first flight was like very exciting, most epic thing you can think of, because there's no shielding around you, and it's the first time you've been up there, and you feel like you're just by yourself there, and you're just controlling the whole thing by yourself.
Man, that moment, that was a sphinctometer tight moment, you know, where, whew, you know, he goes and the engine goes and he just goes off the ground. And, you know, the feeling I had was like, man, I can't fix anything if anything goes wrong. I hope this foundation that we've laid here is gonna work. And it did. He went off and the engine quit. He did a half turn and the engine quit. I was like, oh my gosh. And he just turned and made a picture perfect landing, you know, right where he was supposed to. And then I thought, okay, we've already encountered the worst that can happen.
Safety has always been a top priority for Henry and Jens from the start.
You know, the idea of flying something and not doing it well is not compatible. I've tried to emphasize with him this notion of pilot and command. You know, that as you're the pilot, nobody else can tell you whether you need to fly or not.
The experience has helped strengthen Henry and Jens' relationship.
It seems like it's made us closer as now I fly and he has flown, and now we share sort of the same experience.
This is the years where young men, young boys get derailed. And I think this has helped keep his wheels on the tracks more firmly. It keeps us with a common goal. You know, when we go out to the field, we have a common goal, you know, to get him up in the air and keep it safe. So I think it's been great for our relationship.
And Jens hopes Henry's story will inspire other kids and their parents.
I just hope other kids find some inspiration to do something other than playing video games and watching TV. You know, get off your derriere and do something, because there's a lot of really fun things out there. And sometimes they take a bit of work and a little bit of investment, you know, but I find this, you know, I would do this 1,000 times over. It's been the best thing I could do, that I've done for him.
Josh Cochran, AOPA Live.
Families that fly together have a special bond, and one family in California has gliders as the tie that binds. Julie Walker introduces us to the Flying Willats.
At a small glider port in the remote town of Warner Springs, California, the Willat family shares a multi-generational love for flying sailplanes.
It's the real sport of aviation, because an airplane, you want to go someplace. You might go up and do a little bit of go to get the $200 hamburger, but really the sailplane, you're working with nature. You want to make the sailplane do what you want it to do and to be able to stay and just enjoy yourself.
Soaring is so ingrained in this family. The parents, Bret and Karen, got married in flight.
Karen and I were in one sailplane, the minister was with us, and then her mom and dad were in another sailplane off our left wing. So we were in a formation of 5 gliders and 5 tow planes, and there we were getting married over the San Francisco Bay.
Sons Garrett and Boyd arrived, and the boys flew for the first time when they were just weeks old, and they grew up at the airport.
One of the things is everybody used to ask when I was growing up, well, what is it like living on an airport? And my response was always, what's it like living in suburbia? You know, I don't know any different. I thought everybody lives on an airport because, I mean, that's what we did, and I thought everybody has an airport runway in their backyard.
Boyd and Garrett both soloed gliders on their 14th birthdays, but soloing one sailplane was not nearly enough.
You know, Garrett soloed 18 different sailplanes on his 14th birthday, and imagine that. You can't even drive a car, but here he is soloing 18 different sailplanes. He set a world record that was incredible, and then his little brother comes along, has to beat it. So he soloed 23 gliders.
From solo, the brothers grew their skills and followed in their father's footsteps, performing in air shows as the Sailplane Magic Airshow team. But the thrill of the airshow circuit isn't what the Willats are all about. They are most passionate about sharing the love of soaring with the public.
My favorite thing in aviation is with students and rides, is seeing their excitement level. You have somebody that's never been up before and they come out, and we have a lot of rides that are surprises and, you know, birthday presents. They have no idea what they're in for. And when they enjoy it, and, you know, they come back and they just, you know, big smile and you know, and they're just, you know, bouncing around and just seeing that transformation.
The Willats aren't just passionate about sharing the love of soaring with others, but also within their own family. The Willat family aviation bug seems to be spreading to yet another generation.
I think it's pretty cool that I have family that knows how to fly and can teach me how to fly when I grow up. And I think it's pretty cool that none of the other elementary students can fly a plane.
And so, it seems, the love of flying in the Willat family will live for years to come. Julie Walker, AOPA Live.
It's the dust-covered, middle-of-nowhere event of the year. Paul Harrop takes us now to the world's largest backcountry aviation gathering, the High Sierra Fly-In.
Intersection of flying, fun, and Mother Nature, you'll find the High Sierra Fly-In.
I love the outdoors, so this is right up my alley.
Tom McKay found out about High Sierra from social media and knew he had to come.
Found out about it last year by watching a couple of YouTube videos. Trent Palmer posted some pretty awesome footage.
Tom wanted to get out and explore the desert wonderland in his 182, so with CFI Chris Olmstead as safety pilot, we launched towards the Black Rock Desert, home of the fabled Burning Man 747. A quick hop from Dead Cow, the Burners Playa is just 2 lake beds away. Got to land well away from the used-to-be airliner to protect kit foxes, the furry kind. After a walk to see what it's all about, we hop back down to the site of Black Rock City and then over to Pyramid Lake, where our flight dips wingtips in the steam of a geyser. It was just awesome. From there, it's back to High Sierra to watch the STOL drag and talk about a showdown. The rules are simple. 2 pilots take off side by side behind a chalk line. They fly 3/4 of a mile down. They have to stop past another chalk line on heading. They then turn around, take back off, and the winner of that heat is the first pilot to land beyond that first chalk line on heading. Mike Patey and Draco edges out Trent Palmer in the Freedom Fox for the final round. And speaking of Draco, it really shows off in the mountains. Mike letting me come along as we make a quick hop. We'll have more on this awesome flight in a future edition, but check this climb rate out, 4,000 feet per minute at max gross.
So we just tried Draco at its heaviest weight possible. We took it up to gross weight, filled it with people. We had probably 750 pounds of people on board.
It's just as awesome as it looks, but a lot more comfortable than you'd expect. Mike's fit and finish on the interior makes it to where this could easily be an all-day machine. Draco may be the king of bush planes, but all kinds of aircraft are welcome here on the playa, as long as they're willing to get dirty.
You know, these planes, they're not hangar queens. You know, these guys out here really know how to have fun, use their planes, fly them correctly.
From the Dead Cow Lake Bed, Paul Hero, AOPA Live.
Well, you just saw it there in the piece. It's certainly the airplane of the year if you go by social media buzz. Everyone knows the red, fire-breathing dragon beast of a STOL monster, grand champion, backcountry superstar, giant oversized, king of all the planes. Is that enough descriptors there? Draco. You've seen it in action, unless you've been under a rock, of course, but the story behind it is even cooler. Paul Moses has the details.
It looks like a bird of prey that's about to swoop down for the kill. This one-time Wilga turned into a short takeoff and landing champion by seasoned backcountry pilot Mike Patey. From piston-powered to turboprop Pratt PT6, he transformed Wimp to Wow. The conversion from 250 to 680 horsepower, giving him, for all intents and purposes, a 1-to-1 thrust-to-weight ratio. To say he modified the airframe, an understatement.
We changed the wing. I made it my own airfoil, added 35 square feet of wing area, changed the flaps, made them bigger, changed the ailerons, made them bigger depth and length.
Like his plane, Mike's story is really pretty unique. He and his twin brother are successful serial entrepreneurs. They own Best Tugs and a company that does environmental cleanup, mostly for the oil industry. But they got bit by the aviation bug at the same time. It was one of those bizarre twin moments.
My brother and I had never talked about flying. I jumped in a plane with my father-in-law, who's a pilot. My mother-in-law is a pilot. We flew to an air show. I'd never been to one. And I got there, and all day, all I could think is, I want to get my license. Randomly, he called me that day and said, Mike, I'm so excited. I've been thinking about something all day, and you won't believe what it is. And I said, no, wait, I got to tell you what I want to do. And he goes, no, I'm first. I'm like, okay, go ahead. He had no idea I had gone to an air show. No clue. And he said, Mike, I wanted to go to work, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I should learn to fly. And he says, I kept thinking about it. So during lunch, I ran to the local airport, and I found a guy who's an instructor, and he can teach us how to fly. And there's a plane here. I think we should buy it. It's a Cessna 172. Let's get our license. And I said, you kidding me? Do it.
Today, they share campsites at Oshkosh. While Mike flew in Draco, his wife and their boys made the motor coach trek from Utah. Tooling around this temporary town, they share their passion for flight. They also share memories only backcountry flying can help make real.
Kind of hard to explain, it's just something you have to experience.
We go to a bunch of places that don't have roads, so that's already a big one. We go out to these huge open fields next to some mountains, and you know, now we're camping there. We got a plane, so.
It's amazing what happens when you get your pilot's license. The world becomes a lot smaller, and you can access a lot more spaces than you used to be able to, and a lot faster. And so it's been really nice for our family as a bonding thing too. And there's so many different things with aviation, so many different platforms in aviation.
The Draco is just one of several aircraft that Mike owns, including a helicopter, a jet, and a Lancer Legacy with which he set several land speed records. Patey and Turbulence hold transcontinental and closed course records, but it's his latest trophy, winning the heavy class short takeoff and landing competition at AirVenture, that made all those sleepless nights though normal for him, quite fulfilling.
I tend to not sleep much. I've never really needed a lot of sleep. So I'll spend time with my family, with my work, and then I'll go down and spend 8-10 hours on my plane. And on weekends, I'll spend 20 to 22 hours a day. And I usually only need 3 or 4 hours sleep a night max. And I can do 2 and 3 days straight without sleep. And so I've always been that way. I don't know why. And it works for me because I can knock out a plane like this in 5 months. So this was a 5-month build for me.
So you run hard and fly slow.
Yes, and occasionally fast.
Paul Moses, AOPA Live.
I had a really great privilege there at High Sierra. I'm one of the lucky few that got to ride with Mike Patey and Draco, and let me tell you, that airplane is just fantastic. The fit and finish on the inside, there's carbon fiber everywhere, and it's super comfortable. I kind of expected, you know, when he said 4,500 feet per minute climb, I was expecting it to be like a roller coaster, but really it's just a docile ride. And what's really interesting about the Patey brothers is, you know, they put their mind to something and they go do it. But Mike's next project is kind of a departure. He built Turbulence, he built Draco, kind of no resource spared machines. His next project, he's going to be building a bush plane out of things that he can scrap and scrounge and trade for, and document how cheaply you can actually do it if you weld the tube yourself and cut it and see how to find it. So that'll be a really interesting departure from the last two for him.
Now, the Patey brothers are really interesting. You know, they started a business when they were in high school. Building decks and things, so
it's almost like getting to watch true innovators in aviation. I mean, Draco kind of has exploded all over social media.
It's got so much attention this year. It's crazy.
Yeah, and rightfully so. I mean, it's an amazing machine, and it's really cool to see people doing such cool things in general aviation.
It is indeed. Well, those are our top stories of the year. We're so glad you stuck around to revisit them with us.
And if we missed one of your favorite stories, let us know. Our address is aopalive@aopa.org.
We are so humbled to get to be the stewards of these amazing experiences as we tell the story of general aviation. We do it to serve you, our members and viewers. And if we could, let us ask a favor of you.
If you're watching this on YouTube, please click subscribe and like. It will help us reach more people with the message of general aviation.
And we're grateful for you watching. We hope, however, wherever this content finds you, that you're having a great holiday season.
And we'll be back with a new edition on January 10th. Now we're going to go have some nice R&R.
Hopefully.
Until then, we're signing off.
All right, Blue Skies, we'll see you in 2019.
The pilots who fly with AOPA Insurance. They love flying and saving money, just like you. At AOPA Insurance, we understand how you fly and provide the coverage you need to keep on flying. Call for a free quote and see which AOPA insurance plan is right for you.